Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Weekly Shonen Jump Breakdown for the week of April 16th, 2018. My name is Trey, this is the Full Spectrum, and let's get started. We start off this week with Dr. Stone 54, Flickering Blue Jewel. We have Dig Team Captain Chrome, and he's off to get some more copper, because they're going to make some vacuum tubes. The wiring expands under the heat, though, while Chrome is gone, and it breaks the tubes. Thank goodness that Chrome has gone to get some copper because they need it to make copper tubing now. And it's actually a really nice little moment where Senku realizes that he didn't consider that there was a step that he forgot about, a step he didn't consider as he was moving forward, that the wiring wouldn't be able to handle it, the bamboo wiring, that is. So obviously, copper wiring is the thing they need. And the next thing that goes out is the bamboo filament, and Senku is again distraught, realizing that they may not actually have an option this time. He's been so focused on moving forward that there's been some steps he's been skipping and just hoping that it worked out. And since he hasn't been considering those steps, now he's at a spot where the roadblock just may be too severe. They all head out to go see the sunrise of the new year, and Senku again talk a little bit about how old they are. Senku has been counting in days, 6,268 days to be precise. But while all this has been going on, Suika has been trying to make herself helpful. She wants to be able to do something to assist in this problem. And so she's been going through all the different rocks that Chrome has been finding, trying to find something to help Senku with, when one of the rocks that she's holding begins to glow. It's Shaylite, which can be made into tungsten, which is exactly what they need. This leads to the idea that, of course, they need to go get more Shaylite. Because without it, they can't make the tungsten they need. But they only have 3 headlamps. Senku has to go. Chrome has to go. And Senku decides to take Magma for the third person to go with him. I did see some people saying that Suika just happening to find the rock that they need was a little, Deus Ex Machina. But at the same time, she brought all those rocks out there for that first sunrise. So honestly, if they had just been on the ground, they would have caught the UV rays as well and would have begun to glow, so I think it's fine. Is it convenient? Yes, but I wouldn't say it's too convenient. And leading up now to the fact that we're going to have Magma having to work with Senku and Chrome, and hopefully coming around and being able to actually be useful, that's going to be really cool. So I'm excited for the future of the next couple chapters. After that, we have One Piece 901, Don't Let Even Death Stop You. The ship that was destroyed was the Sun Pirates ship, Fisher Tiger's old ship. Wadatsumi escapes underwater with the Sunny. Oven continues his assault and hits Wadatsumi right through the gut. But Wadatsumi keeps going and apologizes for Fishman Island to Luffy, and then thanks Jimbei. Wadatsumi then recalls how they had vowed to get Jimbei out of there, no matter what it took, that they were going to see him off to be with his new crew. And Aladdin winds up fighting with Oven a little bit, as Jimbei gives him advice, the Straw Hats, on how to escape. Luffy, of course, is immediately like, why? And Jinbei asks leave to go help the Sun Pirates. And then come back. Luffy reminds him that he's his captain now, and they'll be waiting in Wano. Jimbei better not let even death stop him from coming back. And then the Straw Hats leave. And Jimbei is left behind. Oh man, I've been waiting a long time for Jimbei to join the crew. Looks like I'll be waiting even longer. We get to see Big Mom is on her way back, with the full intent of turning Luffy into a homie, because she wants his powerful soul. And we get to see Aladdin chiding Jimbei for coming back. But Jimbei tells him that he's just wanting to make sure they all survive so they can all send him off. And then we see Big News Morgan predicting that very soon, one of the worst generation will become the Pirate King. Now, I really wanted to see Jimbei join the Straw Hats this arc. And I was really excited, and you guys can go back and see the videos of me going like, yeah, the crew's got a helmsman now. But, this makes sense for Jimbei. I don't think he's going to die. I think most of the Sun Pirates will probably die. but I don't think Jimbei is going to die. This will stop all the people who were complaining that Jimbei was too powerful to join the Straw Hats right now, though, because Jimbei's going to leave, and when he comes back, everybody will be even stronger. But still, I really wanted Jimbei in the crew, so I'm a little disappointed by this, but it does make sense with his character, so we'll move on. Next up, we have My Hero Academia 179, School Festival Start. President Mike is letting loose, even as Gentle desperately dodges Deku, who will not stop. La Brava blames herself, saying that her love wasn't strong enough, and Gentle's getting frustrated. He sandwiches Deku down and tells him that his dream is no longer his alone and cannot be swayed. Deku grabs him by the leg and tries to pull him down, but Gentle is able to use his quirk to balance himself out. Deku then tries to get through to him about their dreams, about Aries' dream, and all of his classmates' dreams, and Deku himself is resolute, but Gentle also will not be swayed. We flash back to seeing Gentle failing to be a hero. He tried. He really tried to help, but he just kept getting in the way. We see him failing school, tearing his family apart. We finally get to see him run into an old classmate who's become a hero, and that old classmate doesn't even recognize him. And this finally pushes him over the edge. Driven to the point of madness and desperation, he becomes a villain. He tells Deku to mock him if he needs to, as he finally throws a punch, while La Brava wails that Gentle is not a violent person, and Gentle becomes violent to try and stop Deku. But Deku tells him he isn't mocking Gentle, criminal. This is an honest fight. And oh boy, am I excited. We now have all of Gentle's motivation. We know exactly where he's coming from, but we also know exactly where Deku's coming from. And we know that neither of them are going to back down, and this fight is just beginning. Next up, we have Food Wars 259, The Way They Do Things. Before I even get into the chapter summary, I just want to say, all other ships have been shot down, and the SS Serena has left the harbor. Man, this chapter. We find out that Arena doesn't have a specialty, which someone must have understood. That's why he pushed her for the super specialty. She bites back with teamwork, complaining that this isn't what they practiced, and that, he doesn't know what it means to work on a team. But then he tells her that, isn't this just so us? And she gives him a genuine smile and calls him an idiot and giggles. Like, that answer hits right home. And she recognizes that is exactly how they have always been. And then she puts him to work. Like, the crowd is stunned by this giggle. Soma looks a little stunned. She is enjoying this, because this is just so them. She then decides much of her previous ingredients will no longer suffice, plans to put them in storage containers so Soma can eat them later. I got a huge kick out of seeing discussion threads of this chapter, because this point was brought up as to how she's already skipped a couple steps and is now making him food to eat later. That's not really the thing to focus on right now, Rita, but it's fine. With 10 minutes left, she plans to make a brand new dish to use his hands and hers, to be able to craft something unbelievable. She now cooks with vigor, with no grace, just passion, and it's really cool. You can look back at the way the framing for the panels are done. She's cooking in the same way that Soma cooks now. And we get to see her tracing her steps, remembering how she got here, the training that she's had with Soma. We get to see her remembering him and his dad countering each other with peanut butter eel or peanut butter octopus, I'm sorry. And just like all the weird things that have brought her to where she is. And then, of course, we also get to see her remembering his smile and his thoughts on how food is to be made and served, that it's made for the customer, that it's, made to be a joy for them. And she decides, and then serves her plate to Azami. Well, Soma serves it, but same difference. His hands are hers right now. I loved this chapter. I absolutely loved this chapter. It gave us a good glimpse into the way that Arena thinks. It let us see how much of an impact Soma has had on her life. It lets us see that, honestly, he is one of the few people that she considers actually someone worth considering when it comes to cooking. And lets us see the difference in the relationship, very, very pronounced in this chapter, between her and her dad, and Soma and his dad. So this chapter was great. Absolutely loved it. And then, of course, the ship has sailed. It's very clear who has won. Arita and Soma, there's no way they're not going to wind up hooking up by the end of the story after this chapter. So, yeah. Sorry, everybody else. Next up, we have Robot Laserbeam 53 breaking the Dawn's trap. We see Fudo drop a ball. We see Fudo drop a golf ball like it's made out of lead. Suzaku seems to be having no trouble, and neither do the rest of the elites. But Robo is. Genro eats a banana, probably trying to get his strength back, get some potassium in there. And Robo is prepared for his next shot. Tomiya lines him up, and Robo closes his eyes and shoots blind. Tomiya reveals the trick, that the flag heights have been adjusted to give the illusion of the hole being closer or further away. Then Robo reveals that he isn't nervous at all. He trusts Tomiya, and that trust pays off, since he gets a chip-in eagle. And Don Okuma's chair breaks when he gets shocked about Robo being able to get a chip-in eagle. I love the idea of the Dawn trap just being that, hey, we adjusted the flag height, so it's harder for you to tell how far away the pole is now. That's pretty clever, actually. Super dirty, still, and I still hate that he's getting in the way of their competition, but pretty clever. Pretty clever indeed. So, this was a fun chapter. Getting to see Robo rely on Tomiya, and getting to see Tomiya come into his own and be able to help Robo, it's pretty good. The fight's not over for the two of them, but I have no doubts they'll be able to pull out a win against Genro, and we'll see how things go from there, and whatever the next Dawn trap is going to be. Next up, we have Black Clover 153, The Desperate Path Towards Survival. Mereoleona unleashes her trump, Kalidos Brachium Purgatory. She burns away everything, but the elves use their own mana to save themselves. Leona passes out on her feet, and as they begin to prepare to, take her out and finish her off, and are kind of shocked that she survived as well as she has, she comes to and asks them to attack her again. Mereoleona, man. She's crazy. I love her. They decide to attack her again, of course. But Asta and Zora were waiting for a big attack from all five of them, so Zora could use his magic to reflect it, and now's their chance. I kind of expected the two of them to come back, even after Zora's speech, to save her. This was the coolest way they could come back. We've seen so many times now that Zora has been able to reflect magic, and that Asta has been able to reflect magic. When the two of them work together to do that, it makes them so much more powerful than if they were on their own. All five of the elves come together to launch a massive spell at Mereoleona that will kill her. But Zora uses his magic to take in that spell, launches it to Asta, who reflects it back to Zora, who tries to take it in again, can't repel it on his own. His own magic begins to break down. It's too much power. So Asta comes in to help him, and together they're able to launch it back at the elves. It misses, and it's a good thing he did, since as they escape, we get to see that the spot that the magic hits got completely obliterated. Completely destroyed. But, I think they got their point across, and they got Mereoleona out of there. So she'll get to live to see another day, hopefully. And our boys are out. But what about everybody else? Hopefully next chapter we get a cut to see how everybody else is handled. I'm assuming that most of them are just going to be scattered and have to rebuild and come together. This was a fun chapter. I liked it a lot. Getting to see magic used in a really creative way was really cool. Next up we have We Never Learn 59. Sometimes a genius struggles with a limited X. Furuhashi and Ogata see Yuiga and Uruka, but they were studying. They at first think that this was a big date or something like that, but of course, they're just studying. Uruka is struggling with English. Big time. So they decide to speak only English all day. She, of course, misunderstands a couple different times when Yuiga's talking. But she winds up talking to some foreigners who seem like nice enough guys, though they have no idea how bad Uruka is with English. Yuiga tries to shoo them away and ends up actually saying that Uruka is his steady, implying girlfriend. These guys are immediately ecstatic. They're just like, oh man, you got a super cute girlfriend, you keep it up, man, take care of her. And then they leave. Takamoto then does some stretches and runs away, not wanting him to see her so happy at his mistake. There's a couple things I really liked about this chapter. Obviously, the first is that since they're having to use English, there is the language barrier that they're having to work around, so they have to be a little bit more careful about what they say. And we get to see some fun moments where they weren't as careful as they should have been in what they said. But also the idea that these two guys could now show back up under the impression that Yuiga and Takamoto are dating could lead to some fun things in the future. And the fact that now, whether he realizes it or not, Yuiga has technically said that one of the girls, he was dating her, which will lead to some fun times mentally for him, as we've seen that with other harem protagonists, those things don't really seem to matter that much, but with Yuiga, things that he said, things that he's done, he thinks about them a lot. We're shown that in this chapter, when he tries to say that he's not a pervert and realizes all the times that he's seen Takamoto naked, and that maybe he is a pervert, and cannot say that he isn't. So I'm excited for more of Yuiga and the way that he reacts to all this, even if I'm not the biggest fan of Takamoto. I think she's fine, but she's definitely not my best girl, you know. But there are people that like her. I'm glad they do, and I think that she's a fun character. So we'll see how things continue to go. Next up, we have the Promised Neverland 83, Answer After 13 Years. Bayan is so much more dangerous than we expected. We get to see a flashback of Luvis talking to Lucas about the demon's weaknesses. And although this flashback's really cool, the whole time we're having this flashback, all I'm thinking about is how dangerous Bayan is. Because he's so much smarter than we thought he was. He's so much faster than he thought he was. He's got it all figured out already. He knows that the kids were trying to get away, and he's faked like he couldn't catch up to them so that he could follow them so that he could find Lucas. Man. But we do get this flashback, and it's pretty cool. And it's actually a pretty cool flashback. We even get to see, Luvis taking off his mask and inviting the Nameless Man to come along to this little game that he wants to play with Lucas. Where he wants to give Lucas the chance to come up with a plan, and we'll give him 15 minutes. Well, we also see that Luvis is not stupid, and tells Emma that he won't fall for the same trick this time, and sits down beside her to wait. He tells her that the other kids aren't here in 10 minutes, because he knows, of course, that she's trying to buy time. Then Emma will have to entertain him alone. Bayan finds the entrance in the tree, follows the kids. He blames Ratry, which is really cool. It shows that, this is still the same Bayan that opened this place with Ratry, saying that, the kids didn't do this on their own, that this kind of passage was already here, and advances, only to fall into the trap, as the kids and Lucas attack. Bayan falls for Lucas's feint, and is left wide open to Nigel and Oliver's shots. But I don't think he's going to go down as easily as they think he does. We already know he's infinitely faster than we thought he was. So, very excited to see how that fight turns out. To see the stuff with Luvis and Emma. Because what are they going to talk about for 10 minutes? Are they just going to sit there quietly for 10 minutes? And the fact that we come together for all this time, or after all this time, and the game is going to be complete. Lucas will be there, the Nameless Man will be there, and they will fight Bayan. Because this was Lucas's plan in the agreement that he made with Luvis all those years ago. And it's just like, okay, yeah, let's go. I'm super down for this. Finally for the week, we have One Punch Man 81, Cruel Steps. Garo tries to evade the machine gun blows from Genos, but he keeps taking hits. We also get a really good view of Genos' fist coming towards the panel, which is a clear reference to Saitama's. He's been learning from his master. And I really liked that. That was really cool. Garo is able to deflect the finishing blow and scores a nice hit on Genos, but his own finishing blow is cut off as Garo is forced to dodge a blast from Genos' buried hand, which is really cool. King's emergency monitor is going off, but since Genos is there, he and Saitama ignore it. After they talk for a little bit, though, Saitama decides to go look for Genos, remembering how badly Genos was beat up the last time he found him after a big fight. Garo knows he's in a tight spot. Other heroes could be on their way. Genos is here, and he's an S-class hero. He's become a really terrible fight now. Or a really good fight, depending on your outlook on it. And Garo has already been poisoned and weakened by the previous fight. So he decides to mimic Watchdog Man's movements. He winds up grabbing Genos' arm and ripping it off in his perfect imitation of Watchdog Man, which really goes to show us just how dangerous Watchdog Man is. And we already know, of course, that Watchdog Man beat Genos, not Genos, he beat Garo before. So it's really cool getting to see him copy those movements. But Genos can still control that arm. And so he ties Garo to a tree with it, and Garo smashes the tree with a kick to free himself. Garo then tells Genos to tell everyone he's here, because he is the strongest monster and can beat any hero. Speaking of monsters, some of them show up to help attack Genos to back up Garo and to recruit him, but Garo turns them down again. Then Genos chops them up with his new monster-slaying blade that he has built into his arm. Genos tells Garo he is stronger than he was yesterday when he lost to those monsters, and talks about how Master Saitama told him to train. And he feels he's made progress. This immediately sparks something in Garo, because Genos is pretty tough. And if he's got a master, that guy must be even tougher. So he asks about Saitama. And Genos tells him Saitama can beat any monster, for he is the strongest hero. Now this gets Garo fired up. And Genos comes in to fight, but Bang shows up. And kicks Garo down. Bang's not alone either, his brother's with him. And he asks Genos to leave Garo to them. Bang and Garo prepare to fight, and there's a really cool panel of the two of them lining up, and then we just get to see Bang wreck him. So, I'm excited to see where things will continue here, what's going to happen with Garo, and how the continuing progress will go. Garo is such an interesting character to me, because he's just on that line where he doesn't want to help people, but he has helped people. And he doesn't really care about hurting people. He just wants a good fight. But he has hurt people, too, in the process of trying to get a good fight. He doesn't want to join the Monster Association, and he definitely doesn't want to join the Hero Association. He just wants a good fight. And that makes him very dangerous, but it also makes him very interesting. So I'm really excited to see how he continues to grow as the story continues to move forward. And of course, Saitama's on his way. So if Garo can manage to get out of all of this and somehow beat Bang, his brother, and Genos, he's still got to fight Saitama. And Garo's already really weakened. I don't see him beating anybody else. I think Bang is going to take him down this time. He might escape, or they might take him in. But we'll see how that goes. And finally, for the lightning round this week, Dr. Stone 54, Flickering Blue Jewel. This chapter was fine. It wasn't super exciting, but it also wasn't terrible. I'll give it a thumbs up, because I enjoyed getting to see Senku finally hit a roadblock and not being able to just go, we'll do this instead. Because he didn't have a good plan. I saw some people saying, well, Senku should have thought about the Shaylite, but he didn't know they had Shaylite around. Well, he could have asked Chrome. Well, Chrome didn't know what Shaylite was. This was a very good way to get them to find Shaylite, and now we get to have the adventure with the three, Senku, Chrome, and Magma, so that's fine, in my opinion. I enjoyed the chapter very well. After that, we had One Piece 901, Don't Let Even Death Stop You. I liked this chapter. I'm upset that Jimbei's not going with them, but I liked this chapter. It was a very good chapter, and I still love Jimbei, so, it was a good chapter. My Hero Academia 179, School Festival Start. My Hero Academia 179, School Festival Start. I thought this was a really good chapter. Getting to see Gentle's background, getting to see where he comes from, getting to see Deku still not wanting to give up, really loving the dynamic between these two characters, and I'm looking forward to how the fight continues to grow now that Deku has told Gentle he's not mocking him. Food Wars 259, the way they do things, 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up for sure. This chapter was amazing. The ships have sailed. This chapter got to also let us see how Arena thinks. This chapter got to let us see her finally cooking with passion and, wanting to drive with vigor, wanting to make a great dish and not just make something that tastes perfect. So That was really, really cool. Robot Laserbeam 53, Breaking the Dawn Trap. This was a fun chapter. Tomiya, figured it out, let us see that cool trick, and now the two of them are working together to, beat not just the course, but also Okuma's traps, and getting to see Dawn's chair break. That's pretty cool. Black Clover 153, The Desperate Path Towards Survival. I'm going to give this one a thumbs up as well. I thought reflecting the magic was a really clever idea. Using that to save Mario Leona was super smart. Looking forward to where that goes from there. And Kalados Brachial Purgatory was really cool. Getting to see her spend all her mana, basically. Yeah, that's really nifty. Now that we know mages can do that, that'll be something that I feel like will definitely come back again another time. Makes me kind of wonder if the Wizard King could have done it to just destroy all those swords. I mean, yeah, he would have still died after that because he would have had no mana. But, that also would have been an option. But next up we have We Never Learn 59, Sometimes a Genius Struggles with Limited X. I thought this was a fine chapter. I enjoyed the interaction with the foreigners. I enjoyed the English usage and how it led up to that. And I'm excited to see those two guys show back up again. So we'll see how that goes. Promised Neverland 83, after 13 years, this chapter was hype. Getting to see Bayan and figuring everything out. Getting to see Luvis sitting down with Emma, figuring out about the promise. Very, very excited. And One Punch Man 81, Cruel Steps. I really liked this chapter. Wasn't as hype as some of the previous chapters, but it was still a lot of fun. Getting to see Garou, getting to hear Garou, finally getting to learn a little bit about Saitama. Still not knowing who Saitama is yet, but having an idea, not realizing he's already seen him once before beside King. I'm excited to see Saitama meet Garou, even though I don't think that's going to happen anytime right soon. But at the same time, this was a really fun chapter. Genos has gotten a lot stronger, and it's cool to see that. And Garou is still going and has not stopped. So we really get to see just how strong and just how durable he is. But with all that said, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode of the Weekly Shonen Jump Breakdown. And remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Jump has to offer.